the last few years, the pre-draft press conference has been, I feel like, the answers to the test. And maybe not individual players, but I remember walking away last year thinking, all right, they're going quarterback, receiver, tackle. They went quarterback, receiver, tackle. I remember walking away 2 years ago thinking, okay, they're going to, or 3 or whenever it was, they're going to hammer the combine. That was you want fast guys, draft fast guys here. Hammer combine numbers, which they did. I think Vrabel, we learned some about his big picture philosophies on the draft. I don't think we necessarily learned a ton about their approach this year. He played it close to the vest. It's what he does. Like, I get it. The thing I think that he did, the one big thing, he really didn't rule anybody out that I think people were waiting to be ruled out. And I mean 2 players in particular. He did not rule out, and again, this isn't by name, but you hear the questions, kind of know what it's referring to. He was asked about, would the team take a risk on a player they think isn't a personality fit, with the emphasis on culture? And he basically said, well, if the player's good enough, the player's good enough. The exact quote was, you can't do what we're trying to do with just a bunch of good dudes. So that's obviously about Abdul Carter. And then when he was asked about sort of like he was asked if are tackles worth the 4th overall pick. And he basically said they're starting caliber tackles in this draft. But he also sort of said, and this is interpreting a little bit, the 4th overall pick should be a guy that starts at a premium position, which is left tackle. So if you think there's starting caliber tackles in this draft, you probably think there's tackles worth the 4th pick, and that would be Will Campbell, and we can throw Armand Membu in there as well. So keeping that all in mind, he was also asked who they'll take if they know who they'll take if Carter, Hunter are gone. He wasn't asked to give the answer, but like, okay, if these 2 guys are gone, do you guys know? And he said they're still running through simulations, which all these teams do their own mock drafts internally. It's how they practice. They set up the draft room, they put the big board up, and I think they have like staffers simulate different teams and on and on and on. So they were still figuring that out. But the thing about picking at 4 is, at least when you're talking about the first round, the big board does not need to be that big. You kind of have an idea. So maybe this week they went through and decided, that was on Tuesday that Vrabel said that, so I'm assuming they've made progress since. But like, how big do you think that big board is? How many players do you think are on it? Who's on it? I don't think it's very big. No. I think it's Carter and Hunter, obviously, as a contingency. Like, if those guys fall, which they probably won't. I'm guessing it's Campbell, Membu, Walker. I wonder if there's really any other names, whether there should be or not. I wonder if there's really any other names on that list at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there would be.
Maybe Mason Graham. Maybe Mason Graham.
You still think there's hope for Mason Graham here? I mean, you think he's on their radar? I
just think by nature of them wanting to build through the trenches, he would be on there, but I don't think, like, he's 4th if he's on there. He's the last one on if he's on.
So you think that would you think there's a scenario with him? Could he be one of those guys you trade back and then take? Like, for example, if you trade back to 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a chance? Then you grab a Mason Graham or something like that.
If he somehow gets to 9, I don't think he's getting past 5 or 6, but yes. And the board's bigger at that point now. I think you're talking about players like Tyler Warren, players like Ted McMillan.
Yeah.
But I think at 4, it kind of feels like it's down to the tackles and then maybe Jalen Walker. Just from nothing inside here. This is just me talking. But reading the tea leaves of what's being reported and what's out there, tackles and Jalen Walker. I wonder if that's what they're down to inside the building.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I think tackle from the beginning of this whole thing, going into the end of last season and, starting when we first started just talking about the draft, talking about the offseason, free agency, whatever it is, tackle was always number 1 in most people's minds. I think over time, we've kind of drifted away from that, but I think the team hasn't. I think the team understands the importance of having a good left tackle. And look, we all understand the draft. The draft is a gamble anyway, no matter where you're picking. It can be number 1 or whoever. It's a gamble for everybody. But I do think tackle was always their top priority. So I can see Membu and Will Campbell being their priority guys right now because they know the importance of left tackle. After that, I think that's where the real work begins, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But I do think tackle's at the forefront of everybody's minds in that building. You have to protect that quarterback. And that tackle, I think, is the key to the whole offense. If you have a bad left tackle, I don't think anything you've done in the offseason is not going to work out the way you expect if that left tackle position isn't filled.
617-779-0985 if you want to join us, talk Patriots this morning. Last chance. Talk Pats with us before the draft here. If it is a tackle, you walking away happy Thursday night?
Yeah, I am. I don't know about everybody else, but I know I am. I'm confident. And because I'd finally be like, okay, yeah, we don't know how good the player is going to be. If it's Will Campbell, probably, I would say most likely, but if it's a Will Campbell, there's a lot of question marks or whatever. But it's like, hey, look, they went up. They needed a left tackle. They went and got an All-American left tackle, one of the best, playing in the toughest conferences in the league. So all you can go by is what they did on the college level. He was a dominant left tackle at that level. They went and addressed it. They got their left tackle. They addressed right tackle in free agency. They went and got a center, even though that's started his other position still up in the air. But they've at least addressed the major needs of this team. And I'd be real confident with Will Campbell. I'd be happy with Will Campbell. After that, like I said, that's where the real fun begins. Okay, now what are we going to do behind this? But I'd be cool with Will Campbell.
I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with the trenches. I don't know how many players we're getting in the top 100 that are, people will be drafting in fantasy. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, if they mix a wide receiver running back in, if the right guy falls, great. And I'm not saying they're going to do it exclusively, but I think I've talked about it on this show. I had a really good conversation with Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald on his podcast, on the Pats Interference podcast on Friday. People can check that out. Where, and I've talked about this other places too. Like, I wouldn't hate if they go tackle at the top, if their second pick is a guard. There's two really good guards in this draft. There's a third guy that's pretty good. Like, I think starting caliber. I think Tyler Booker and Gray Zabel are really, like, those guys can be plus players off the rip. Donovan Jackson, I think, is a very good player. Not quite as polished as those two, but he can get there. But, like, he can be a starter right away.
Yep.
One of those guys falls to 38, or they move up a tiny bit and take one of those guys. Again, I don't know that I've seen some people actually say that they would get Will Campbell jerseys, but I don't know you're buying those jerseys. You're not drafting those guys in fantasy. You're not betting on them. They go tackle guard off the top, right? And let's say it's Will Campbell, Donovan Jackson, Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Morgan Moses. That's not just getting we said at the beginning of the offseason, they just have to get the line to functional. We're beyond functional now.
Oh, you're good now. You're good.
That's a plus line. That's a good line.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate that. And, they have a lot of needs. I've seen people say double up at receiver, double up at running back, double up at this, I want them to spread the assets around because multiple parts of the roster need addressing. That being said, if you are going to hammer one spot, it's obviously the offensive line.
Yes.
It's obviously the offensive line. So I wouldn't hate that. I also wonder if with that second pick, like, we've heard a lot of noise about Jalen Walker, and maybe there's people in the building that just really like him. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but, like, is that maybe coming from a place of there were people high up who believe finding that linchpin edge rusher is a major priority? And so if it's not Walker at the top, this is a deep draft at that position. You can get guys that have linchpin upside in the second round, or, again, trading back up into the first. I wonder if that's a second pick. Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson, Donovan Ezeraku, that group. Does somebody from that group fall into the second round down to 38? Like, that's kind of what I'm looking at for that second pick. I think it's going to be trenches, whether it's another guard, whether it's another tackle. Mercery falls, and maybe you draft him as your long-term plan on the right side, or getting somebody on the defensive front.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it so much the last 2 years. Trenches is where you win football games
and lose.
If you get and lose, exactly. And most of the games they've lost the last couple of years is because they've been so bad in the trenches. And it's just last year I don't think anybody expected it. Well, the Barmore situation kind of threw it all off. But no one thought they'd get pushed around in the front seven the way they did last year. I mean, the offensive line was bad, but that front seven was equally as bad. If you're strong in the trenches, you're going to win football games. The champions right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, are the strongest team in the trenches, and they won games. You had A.J. Brown over there reading books. It didn't even matter because they were just pushing people around. But being dominant up front is how you win football games, not with a bunch of fantasy guys. They make everybody else better on that offense and on defensive side as well.
We've put in anywhere from 4 to 9 months of work on this thing, depending on when you started watching during the season or after. It's time to put all that work to good use. Let's make some predictions. We'll save that one for last.
Okay.
Let's just go first round here. How many quarterbacks go in the first round, Cerrone?
Oh, I'm going to say I had Dart going to the Saints. That's 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 4.
You go 4. Okay.
Yeah, I think Milroe gets selected somewhere down the line. So I think those are the top 4. Man, what happened to Quentin Ewers, man? Tyler Mighty had fallen.
Yeah,
last year it was like, don't draft Drake May. Get Quentin Ewers next year.
He felt a lot of guys like that in this draft. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to say 3 quarterbacks. I think Cam Ward goes to the top. Shadur goes somewhere in the late teens, early 20s. And this is one of my bold predictions. Jalen Milroe, QB3, sneaks into the back end of the first round.
Yep.
How many, and we're not going to do this for every position. I just pulled out a couple.
Yeah.
But, I think that it's kind of an interesting conversation for this draft. How many running backs go in the first round?
Man, most we've seen in a while. I think Amarian Hampton slips in there. And probably I'm going to go with 3.
All right.
I think I'm going to go with 3. It's but toss
Travion Henderson?
Henderson is another Henderson.
Yeah.
No, I don't think Scatterbo is going to go that early.
No.
Dylan Sampson, I think, might be another one that slips in there.
Wow. I'm hoping the Patriots can get Dylan Sampson at 69.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm going to say 2. I think it's going to be Genty and Amarian Hampton. How many trades will there be on Thursday night?
Thursday night?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say like 2. I'm going to go 3. 3 max Thursday night. I think it gets really cracking as we get into later rounds. I'm
going to say, so you said 3?
Yeah, I was going to go with 2, but 3. Right. I got 3.
I'm going to say 1. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly, I was tempted to go 0. I don't think anybody has any interest in moving around in this draft. The only reason I'm saying 1 is I think somebody moves back up into the end of the first round for a quarterback. I think we could go, and maybe the Steelers move up from 21 to get Sanders, because I think they got to be done with Rodgers at this point.
Yeah. I
think we could go 14, 15, 16 picks without a trade. I really do. I think this is going to be, there's not a lot of chalk within the picks because all the players are graded so similarly.
Yeah.
So I think there's nobody you're aggressively moving up for. There just isn't. I just don't think those trades are there.
Yeah, I can see that. If it does happen, I agree with you. Be on the back end, guys moving up 2 spots and moving back a spot or 2, stuff like that, because they can still get their guy, or the guy, a similar guy or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, if they do happen, it's going to be late. I don't expect any fireworks in the top 10 of this draft when it comes to trades.
I don't either. If there is one, and we'll start, I'm just going to open it up, bold predictions, however many you have. I think Genty goes relatively high. I think somewhere between 5 and 10.
Yep.
I think he's somebody a team might trade up for. I think somebody might not just take a running back in the top 10, but trade up. Whether that be the Bears, whether that be the Cowboys. Strike me as 2 teams that could potentially do it. Yeah. It's very Cowboys.
I forget they even exist. It's like they can ruin the whole draft, but yes, the Cowboys.
I think a team trades up for Ashton Genty. I think there's, and I know I just said 1 trade. I'm kind of throwing out different predictions. Not all going to come true. These are just some thoughts I have. Another one, Matthew Golden goes top 15.
Yep.
I think there's a chance he could be the first receiver off the board. I wouldn't necessarily bet on that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Another bold prediction I've been working on too is there's going to be 3 first-round tight ends. Ooh. This one I feel a little more strongly about.
Okay.
I think there's going to be 3 first-round tight ends. And the reason why, 1, it's copycat league. Everybody saw what Brock Bowers did last year, and there's going to be a bunch of teams licking their chops saying, we want that. We want that next guy. So Tyler Warren's going to go in the first round. He's probably going to go top 10. Colson Loveland's going to go in the first round. The internal people, you see the anonymous, a scout, executive, whatever, a lot of those people, when they talk about Colson Loveland, say people are too low on Colson Loveland, that he's going to go really high too. He might go top 15, if not top 10. So those 2 guys are going to go. The next tight end on the board, according to most projections, TE3, is Mason Taylor, who some people I've seen, could the Patriots get him at 69? I think that's low even based on the projections, but the projections have him right around 50 to 60. So let's say Loveland goes 20 to the Broncos, who desperately need a tight end, right?
Yep.
Are we really going to go 30 whole picks without a tight end, including 12 in the first round?
Yeah.
Like, this take is Mason Taylor is going to go top 40.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Taylor is going to go, like, at 38. If the Patriots want him, they're going to have to take him at 38, and I don't think they should. I don't think they need a tight end that high, but, like, he's not getting much past that. But I'll dress it up a little bit, put the jaws on the floor. As Lee Corso says, we're into the entertainment industry, right? Football's just a vehicle. I'll dress it up a little bit. Mason Taylor, first-round pick. You got any bold predictions?
Well, I wouldn't call it bold because I'm starting to see it floating around a lot. That McMillan Houston. And C.J. Stroud gets Ted McMillan to replace, I almost said replace, but he gets another weapon after losing Stephon Diggs and the injuries that they've dealt with. But I've seen McMillan sliding as far as Houston. And I guess a bold prediction is a lot of these good players are going to fall to good teams. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders possibly with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders with Metcalf and I can't think of the other receiver there. I would call him a knucklehead, but the other receiver they got over there. Shedeur Sanders, it's like, he's going to go to the playoffs if he goes to the Steelers. And we'll be looking at his resume, not his skill, but his resume. Oh, as a rookie quarterback, he makes the playoffs and all this other stuff. But it's like he just gets thrown into a good situation. And I think guys like him and McMillan could have a potentially slide to good teams and keep the rich richer as this thing goes forward.
Yeah, there's a real chance that because it's also even. We're used to, we're talking about Mason Graham, Tyler Warren as top 10 picks. People like Colson Loveland, Matthew Golden are projected a little later. There's really not a huge gap between those players.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a surprise if one of the guys we're projecting go 20 goes 10 and one of the guys we're projecting go 10 goes 20. That's just the way this draft is structured. I'll throw in one more bold prediction. I said it earlier, but I'll add it again. The Browns, Andrew Berry earlier this offseason, the GM of the Browns, went to the Colorado workout, watched Hunter and Sanders and said, man, I wish we could have them both. You could if you're willing to trade back up.
You could if you're willing to do it.
They take Travis Hunter at 2 and then trade up to try to jump the Steelers' division rival at 21 and put those two together. All right, Patriots.
Great for TV.
Patriots. 4 top 100 picks. 4, 38, 69, 77. If the Patriots make all 4 of those picks, I don't know that they will. I think they're going to trade up from 38. But if the Patriots make all 4 of those picks, give me positions. What positions? What's the position at? What's the 4 positions they're targeting there?
Well, I got targeting. Got to go left tackle.
Yeah,
obvious. I'm not no particular order. Trenches, left tackle. I think they get a guard somewhere in there. Edge rusher, of course. Get down on the D line, and that I got them at Abdul Carter in my mock draft. And then after that, safety. I think they got to get a safety in there. I want a running back so bad, but I'm gonna go safety as my fourth position of need.
So I'm gonna say tackle, defensive line, linebacker, edge, something front 7, tackle, defensive front 7, running back, and another offensive lineman, either guard, tackle, center. That's what I think their first 4 picks are going to be. Starting left tackle, another somewhere on the offensive line, defensive front 7 player, probably an edge guy, but I'll leave room for maybe a defensive tackle or maybe like a hybrid edge linebacker and then running back. I think those are going to be the first 4 picks.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think, as constructed right now, their defense is already top 10? Potentially.
It's a good question.
Like, could they literally
do they have Barmore?
Yes, with Barmore. I say a healthy Barmore.
I mean, with this schedule, I think it's possible. Yeah. I wouldn't. They're probably 8, 9, 10. I don't think they're pushing top 5 yet. If you got a guy like Abdul Carter, we can start talking about top 5. But they could be in that conversation.
And the reason I ask that is, could you then, if you think your defense is that good and you've made, huge strides in free agency or whatever, could you legit just go full offense with the draft?
Like they did last year.
Yeah, just go all offense. We're good on defense.
You could, but I think they want their defense to be better than it is. I don't think they want a top 10 defense. I think they want a top 5 defense.
Okay, yeah.
So, you're not could you do that? Yes.
Yeah, they're not satisfied.
Right.
Not yet.
Is that the way they view it? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, now I think they're going to be offense heavy. I don't think it's going to be, what was last year, 7-1, 8-1, however many picks they had. Marcellus Dial, the lone defensive pick. I think it'll be a little more balanced than that. They have, 9 picks, if I'm remembering correctly? I don't think I am. I should know this off the top of my head. This is kind of crazy this late in the process.
It's all good, man. It's been a long journey.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they have 9 picks. I think they go, all right, since we're doing predictions and we still have some time before we get to the big one, they have 9 picks. Over under 5.5 offensive players for the Patriots, assuming they make the 9 picks. They might end up making more or less, but assuming they make the 9, over under.
My theory, I'm gonna go over 5.5. Take over. I'm gonna take the over.
I would take the over on that too. And if they take Travis Hunter, he counts offense there.
Yeah,
I think it's 6 or 7, and then you mix in a couple defensive players. But I do think there will be one in the top 100 because Mike Vrabel's going to want one of his guys, a guy he drafted, being a presence on that defense and being somebody that can be a leader of that thing moving forward. So that's my prediction. All right, let's do the big one. On the clock at 4. Who are the Patriots taking? Who are we starting off the show with next week, Cerrone?
Abdul Carter, Penn State.
Okay. That'd be great. That'd be great. So you have them going defense right away. You have them going for that top 5 defense.
I got them with Abdul Carter mainly because I think he'll be available because I do think the quarterbacks are going to go, and I think he's as much as they know they need a left tackle. I think it's just too hard to pass up on Abdul Carter. He's the best player in the draft, whatever you want to call it. Something he is. I think it's too much to pass up for a guy like Vrabel that made his money doing the same thing. And look, the importance of having a guy like that with that defense, I think they go Abdul Carter, and I think he's the first jersey sale that flies off. Once it's on the market, everybody's going to be buying Abdul Carter jerseys. So, yeah, I got Abdul Carter as a New England Patriot.
Is he getting 11 from Josh Dobbs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hold on. Can you get – if Edelman doesn't – Julius Edelman is Hall of Fame thing.
Yeah.
If he gets in, is that number – how are you going to –
I don't think they're going to retire it. I just think I mean, NFL teams rarely retire numbers to begin with. And me
as a Patriot, it's like,
Yeah, me, personal rule of thumb, if you've reissued the number, it clearly wasn't worth retiring.
Okay, yeah.
Like when they retired Wade Boggs' number and Brock Holt was wearing it and he had to change. I mean, what are we doing? Meanwhile, they've technically, I don't think they've officially retired Andre Tippett's number, but nobody's worn it.
Nobody's worn it, yeah.
So
Unwritten
I don't know.
rule.
And as Teddy Bruschi once said, somebody asked him about his number being retired, and he said, I'd rather somebody else wear it and go out there and do it justice, which Dante Hightower obviously very much did.
Yep.
I'd rather somebody go out there and do it justice as opposed to nobody ever see it again. So I have no problem with it. And I think Julian Edelman wants A.J. Brown to wear it. He sent him that jersey this week. So I'll keep it unretired if they get A.J. Brown. I think it's going to be Will Campbell. Look, Carter would be great. I think they would take him if he's there. I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think Travis Hunter's I do think Travis Hunter's going top 3. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going top 3. I think it's going to be Will Campbell. Mike Vrabel this week didn't rule out the idea of a tackle being the pick at 4, even with guys both Campbell and Membu having questions up there. He's spoken highly of both of them. He didn't rule out the idea of taking one up there. The one thing he did say is that pick has to be somebody. It didn't has to, but put emphasis on that pick being somebody at a premium position. So what are the premium positions? Quarterback, they're not taking that. Edge, that would be Jalen Walker. I leave the door open for that. I'm not ruling that out. But edge is a premium position. Corner, they're not taking a corner. Receiver, I guess if you want to leave the door open a smidge for Tet McMillan, but I just don't think – I think they know they need more speed on offense. He obviously doesn't bring that. And then left tackle. Those are the premium positions.
Yep.
So there's a strong case to be made that he's the best player on the board at a premium position. Yes, I think he's a tackle. I think they think he's a tackle. I think if they thought he was a guard, they wouldn't take him. Even if they thought there was a chance he's a guard, they wouldn't take him. Look, I would hope if they look at it and say, well, he's maybe a tackle, maybe a guard, but we need a tackle, so we'll take him and figure it out. If that's how they approach it, I would hope they don't draft him.
Yeah.
Because you need a guy that's going to play that position.
Right. Day one, he's our starting left tackle.
If they draft him as a tackle and then they blew the evaluation, it's not great, obviously. I'm not excusing that, but that happens, right? You blew the evaluation. The approach was correct. But I think they think he's a tackle. Vrabel talked about drafting for need and taking the best player available. You hope those two things sync up. Again, is he the other guys at the premium positions that are there? Is Will Campbell better than Jalen Walker at their respective positions? Is he better than Ted McMillan? I don't think they're going to take a corner. They definitely shouldn't be taking a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Best player at a premium position. I think it's going to be Will Campbell.
Look, I think he's an absolute need. I wouldn't be mad if it's Will Campbell. And the only reason I didn't have him as my mock draft is because I think the quarterback's going to go and Carter's going to be there.
Again,
that's it. That's the only reason.
there is as Vrabel said last week, you can't do if the guy's good, he's good. And Abdul Carter is a different level of prospect, and he plays premium position. So to do that exercise I just did, Campbell's better than Ted McMillan, I think. I think he's better than Jalen Walker. He's not better than Abdul Carter.
Yeah. It's that simple.